you believe that we are already well into 2022? I am seriously mind blown by how quickly things are flying by because of how crazy things have been with the Spotlight Theory, open enrollment, and launching a bunch of new client strategies. I took a little bit of time for myself to do a quick check-in to see how I've been doing with actually hitting some of the goals that I set for myself for this year. Have you done that yet? Thought about what goals that you've set for yourself this year? Maybe it's that you wanted to exercise more. Have you done that? Maybe you want to hang out with more of your friends or perhaps even go on more dates with your significant other. Can you do that? Maybe you want to actually triple your business revenue. Are you on track for that? Or maybe you want to get a house or even have a kid. How's that going? The great thing about goals is that whether they are small or big ones, you can usually use the same methods to actually achieve them. So it doesn't matter whether your goal is to get a pet or to buy a car. If you apply specific methods to it, you are going to crush it. So I follow a very specific process to make sure that I am actually hitting my goals. And that's what I want to share with you today. How can you set goals and make sure that you always actually crush them? I'll be walking you through my goal setting process to show you exactly how I make sure to not only crush my goals, but also set some reasonable goals for myself. Because come on, some of us just set goals for the sake of setting goals. So if you want to crush your goals, you've got to set reasonable goals. That's the most important part. So when I'm personally setting my goals, what I do is I write down everything that I can think of that I want to do. So whether it's a personal goal, a business goal, a fitness goal, it really doesn't matter. I write down every single thing that I can literally think of. That's why I call this session the brain dump session. I'm dumping all the goals that I have for myself on paper. It doesn't matter really how big or small the goal is. I'm just writing it all down. So after I write it all down, that's where I take a step back and I look at everything that I wrote down. Then I start to think about my big picture. Where do I actually want to be in a year from now? What do I want to see when I look at myself in a year? And which of these specific goals that I've written down will help me become that person that I want to become within a year? That's when I start to do the work of picking the goals that are most important to how I want to see myself at the end of the year. Most times when I do this, I still have honestly so many goals left on that paper. But since many of my goals, they're usually connected and intertwined with each other, it's sometimes hard to let some of them go. I often tell myself to only set a realistic number of goals to solve that particular problem. I mean, I'm not setting these goals just for the sake of setting these goals. I'm setting them because I actually want to achieve something. So all of my goals, I make sure that they are really realistic. That means that you've got to look at the goals again and choose the most significant ones for you. The ones that are so important that you really cannot imagine yourself without achieving them in the next year. The reason why I feel like this is so important to first have that brain dump session is that you can actually look at everything that you want and then you can rank them from what's most important to you. That way, you'll be able to see what trade-offs you'll have to be making in order to make those goals a reality, really. So I don't make more than 5 specific goals a year. Now, these are big goals, but there's 5 of them. I make sure these goals are realistic and important to me in my entire big picture. Once I'm done setting these goals, it's time to move on to the next phase of my goal planning session. Now that you already know what your goals are, it's time to decide how do you actually want to crush them. One mistake that a lot of people make when they're setting goals is that they are setting them, but then they actually have no plan of attack. So for example, if your goal is to say, let's just say for this example, you want to save $2,000 a month. Your plan can't just be to cut off $2,000 a month from your paycheck. You have to understand that there's a reason that you haven't been doing that already. You've got to look at all your expenses. You got to make a budget and then you actually have to stick to it to hit those goals. You can't just assume that you'll have that $2,000 just sitting over every single month and you'll save it. Assuming something won't actually get you there. It doesn't work like that whatsoever. You have to have a plan. And I don't just mean a plan, I mean a concrete plan, one that you're actually going to stick to. It has to be detailed. You have to actually write it down and know exactly what you need to do every single month. If you want to increase your followers on social media, you could simply Google how to do that, and then you can make a checklist of all the things that you need to do in order to increase your follower count. And then as soon as you get started on that checklist, you'll start checking things off and you'll get even closer to achieving that goal. Now, what if your goal is super big and one that's going to take you all year? You've got to break that down into small achievable goals or checklists. These small achievable goals must be within your sphere of influence. They should be things that you can actually do and realistically do. So once you get started on these checklists and you conquer them one by one, you'll find yourself approaching that finish line in just no time. And here's the thing. Even if you cannot achieve that goal because of just circumstances beyond your control, you would know and you would physically see that at least you were trying. At least you took some steps forward, which will help you from getting down on yourself at the end of the year. So now that you have a set checklist for all of your goals, it's time to decide which one you're actually going to work on first. Now, while it's great to have all these goals, working on all of them at once, it might make you feel productive for a while, but honestly, eventually you're just going to feel overwhelmed and they're all going to slide away. And when you feel overwhelmed, you're not actually going to achieve any of your goals, and we don't want that. There's a purpose for setting your goals. So that's why it's important to determine what goal you want to prioritize during the year. What goal do you actually want to achieve first? Which one will help you move that needle? Which one is then going to go second? Once you've completed first and second one, which one are you going to do third, and so forth. Even if one of your goals is to form a habit, let's say, so maybe like going to the gym every single day, you want to actually make sure that you work on actually making that a habit before you jump on another goal. So let's run through a quick little overview of the things that we're talking about so far. So the brain dump session. This is where you write down all of your goals, anything that you can think of. This will help you choose the most important goals for you based on where you want to be in a year. If you only write down the goals that pop into your head at the time, you may miss some really important ones that are extremely important to that big picture of your future. So achieving a goal really is like going on a journey to that unknown destination. But when you set out on such a journey, you need two things. You need gas in your tank and you need a map or you need directions. The gas in your tank, that's your determination. The map is the plan you have for actually crushing those goals. You can always refill your gas tank, but if you've got no map and you have no idea how you're going to get to where you need to go, honestly, you're going to be hopelessly and completely lost. So once you set your most important goals, it's then time to break each of them down into achievable bite-sized goals, or turn those achievable bite-sized goals into mini checklists. After that, you need to decide on which one you are going to start with. Again, you don't want to be focusing on all 5 of your goals for the rest of the year. You need to focus on one at a time, or at least as much as you can. But the chances that you will be overwhelmed if you did focus on more than one at a time is pretty high. So if you don't want to get overwhelmed by your goals that you've set, you need to make sure that you prioritize them. Decide which one comes first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. That way, you'll have a much higher chance of actually completing those goals. So once you've done all of these aspects, it's then time for the final step to crushing your goals. If you're going to crush your goals, you'll have to learn to do one thing at a time. Stick to the task at hand. I know as entrepreneurs, we see something new and we want to do it. But if your goal, let's say, is to build better friendships and build more significant business, you need to know that you'll probably be able to focus on one of these tasks at a time. I know you think that focusing on one task may let the others just fall behind, but trust me, it really won't. There are 365 days in the year. That's 365 chances to get something done on your checklist or check off those goals. So don't worry, you will crush them, especially if you focus on one at a time. Working through all 4 of these steps, this is what's going to help you crush your goals. And before I finish, let me just say this. There's no rule that you have to set your goals just in January at the beginning of the year. You can start this process right now if you haven't set any goals for yourself. I promise you, you have not fallen behind. No one cares when you actually set them. They just want to see you smashing your goals. So you got this. Now, if you needed to hear something like this today, Can you do me a favor? Can you like this episode and share it on social media? And together, let's inspire more entrepreneurs to actually crush those big goals that they're setting. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I cannot wait to see you next week. See you then. Bye for now.